I seem to think without an immediate physical extension of a body, like I feel when standing in a fast food restaurant line, Novo admitting for a long time before reaching the counter to order, just before I speak. The dimensions themselves are rolled over in difficult to describe shapes and forms, with colors and speed relationships quite askew from normal perception in the four-dimensional world. Evidently, no time passed in the process. With the background of Big Bang residual thermal temperature of the universe being somewhere about 3 degrees Kelvin, it is obvious that, like Boyle's law about the distribution of gas in a given volume equalized with values of entropy, the background energy of the universe has a generally even distribution in a given volume of space-time. Local variations caused with gravity indicate a difference between being and nothingness. This dissociation from concentration concurrently and proportionally with expansion of space-time may be used as a comparative logic paradigm for the ideas of absolute position of coordinate reference points in the history of space-time in variegated temporal Einsteinian field relativity from the time equal to zero when the singularity phase of the universe was at its most minimal before the inflaton and after the black hole phase of the pre-Big Bang era. It may also be used as a paradigm for the idea that the equal distribution of virtual particles in the pre-Big Bang era perturbative vacuum is logical, except in an era of stagnation of a pre-existing physical system with a given equalized distribution of energy, even if it is of a virtual nature. Why should the appearance of virtual particles in a field in a vacuum follow no particular pattern or frequency, and what might randomize it? The pre-Big Bang era virtual state and its distribution of virtual particles entering into it following the laws of quantum mechanics is one of the more intriguing points of the potential history of an absolute initial coordinate reference system with known space-time phenomenality as the frame of reference to consider. It has seemed to me for some time that there isn't a reason why the appearance of virtual particles in any given dimensional or non-dimensional state of vacuum or space ought to be at random. Instead, I have thought that the characteristics of virtual particles statistically modeled should follow a pattern derived from some non-apparent metastructural or transdimensional reciprocal intrusion. Obviously, that creates an infinite regress logically. All universes and dimensions would be connected in some way to all others, and yet an absolute hierarchical coordinate system still exists, beginning from where one places one's true universal history. Logically, the regression of historical sources of interaction of space-time dimensions and mass energy structure should have an end if the universe is not just one example of an infinite number of universes existing in an infinite volume of space-time universes in an infinite vacuum. Logically, the concept of an infinite system presents the problem of how an initial heterodox virtual particle pattern and statistical symmetry breaking sufficient to create a first universe could have emerged, as well as the mind-boggling sorts of questions about what a really infinite number of universes in a finite volume would be like if there wasn't some kind of a higher reality containing it all. Some hypothesize that an initial donated single field in which bubble universes might form existed. There are innumerable avenues of theoretical regress to perhaps match experience or ideas that are surpassed by unanswered questions. Another improbable question of how the finite but vast series of universes could have arisen in time from a null state. The first time is equally challenging to answer, yet given the premise that it did and grew to produce perhaps trillions of universes, the subsequent and obvious question to answer is what hypothetical limit exists to the amount of virtual particles and consequent mass that can be created in the null state of the perturbative vacuum. The perturbative vacuum and the virtual particles from nowhere that appear without end to give rise to black holes and universes of mass seems the cornucopia criterion theorists require for a happy answer to government budget requirements, but find unavailable at such a mundane level. I hope to budget time to find lush while remaining alive and healthy, yet discover that circumstances presented a coefficient of adversity that might require tempering of my expectations. I mention hopping is a little bit taxing on the health, Aches, pains, and soft tissue injuries compile like bones that ache in cool temperatures, frost previous freezing. The alternation to initial organic parameters is imponderable. I landed buck naked down in the mean streets of the city. I walk these streets alone in my mind, even now, a few seconds later. Standing here in one place where I stand, I will walk these empty streets alone until I encounter someone or ones. I turned around 360 degrees in a circle to survey what I see.